Okay, all right. So, guys, hello, welcome back, LEVATOR Nation. Today's vlog is going to be a little bit different. I'm not going to be sharing any stories, anything about physical therapy and my experience and all of that stuff in the clinic. But I figured it would be the most appropriate to talk about kind of my first year as a working physical therapist. Now, those of you who do not know, I graduated last year, 2019, in December. I started working in February 2020 this year. So now that it's December 2020, I've been working for about 10 months, so pretty much a year in Hawaii. I grew up in California my entire life in Los Angeles County, and I moved to Honolulu, Oahu, and I've been working at an outpatient orthopedic clinic for almost a year now. And I just figured it would be most appropriate to really reflect back on my first year and just kind of talk about the three main points and lessons that I learned. And I just figured that I would share that with you. Now, those of you who don't know, I work at Stay Fit Physical Therapy. There are two locations, one in Aiea and one in Kapolei, but I work in the Aiea location. So those of you who are interested in moving to Hawaii and looking at different places, this company, ooh yeah, it's a great company. But anyway, so I just wanted to share the three main things that I learned, and honestly, these were the things that I would have never would have thought would be the most important things as a working clinician. Okay, so first things first. Now, most of you who are watching this are thinking, well, if you're in your first year of physical therapy, man, you must be so worried and concerned about your confidence as a clinician. Your skills as a clinician. Are you making the right decisions? That kind of stuff, right? But it's actually not anywhere near that subject. I 100% feel confident working as a clinician today. Any patient that comes in, I am confident that I can have a strategic plan as to how I'm going to approach and treat this patient. Whether they're simple, moderate, or super complex, I felt very equipped in my first year to really be able to say, okay, this is a little bit complicated, but you know what? I have a plan and I know where I'm going to start and I know where we're going to go. And honestly, that's probably the best thing you can do as a clinician. Just because if there's a plan, then you have a strategy towards a treatment plan. But the skills, the confidence, just working as a physical therapist is actually not part of the biggest lessons that I've learned. I went to Azusa Pacific University for my doctorate of physical therapy, and they have absolutely prepared me so well. Like their level of just intensity of how they prepared me and prepared all the students to be efficient in the clinic, I felt absolutely a product of their education. So those of you who are interested in physical therapy, APU, Azusa Pacific University in Azusa, California is a great place to go. But anyway, that's not what I'm talking about today. What I'm talking about are the three main things that I really learned this past year, and I wanted to share that with you. So, number one, I talked about this before, but it's really not about how you treat the patient. It's really not about where you go and what direction you need to do to treat different types of diagnoses. But what it's really about is connecting with the person. So let's say we have Jessica who comes into the clinic, and Jessica has shoulder impingement and different types of shoulder injuries along with that, maybe some even neck injuries on top of that. And you as a physical therapist are trying to focus on that stuff. But what I've learned that's most important and most meaningful for Jessica, the patient, is not necessarily getting this stuff better, which is important, obviously, but what's even more important is connecting with the patient or connecting with Jessica. If Jessica comes in and you as the physical therapist can see her, listen to her, acknowledge what she is saying, and really just show up for the patient and show up for Jessica, then that is so much more meaningful and such a better physical therapy experience than you just having small talk, just say, okay, here, let's just treat this, and you just leave. And I realize that it works both ways because it's not only meaningful for Jessica as the patient, but it's meaningful as Justin as the physical therapist. And when you have that connection where the therapeutic relationship between clinician and patient are together and they're aligned, man, that makes life so much better. Like my emotions, my like place in my own mental well-being was at such a lower level when I treated patients just like patients. They come in, I treat their diagnoses, they leave. I don't take time to invest in connecting, building relationship, talking to them, listening to them. I felt so much more anxiety. I felt so much more feelings of burnout, symptoms of burnout when I treated like that. But when I shifted gears and I started treating where I started to listen to them and authentically connect with them, burnout was not even a thing. I'm starting to sweat here because I'm just getting so fired up about how important, how really important this aspect was that I had to learn, or that I just learned through experience. And unfortunately, there are still clinicians out there that have been doing this for years, and they haven't figured out that this connection part is way more valuable and meaningful for the patient than actually treating the symptoms itself. So that is like, I had to say that first off and foremost, because like if someone had told me like you need to connect with patients before actually just treating their symptoms and injuries, you're gonna actually yield better results. You're gonna have better compliance with them not only coming to physical therapy, but also better compliance with them actually doing their homework, which is gonna be so important, right? And if they do all those things, then they're gonna get better anyway. So connection, you guys, like if there's anything you need to learn from this, you need to connect with your patients. And every time I feel like I'm burning out, or I feel like I'm like, oh, I don't want to go to work, I think about how meaningful these connections are with patients, and that it just all the symptoms of burnout just vanish, because that is what's most important. Okay? All right. Number 2. Documentation. Now, this is a big area for physical therapists, right? Those of you who are interested in becoming a physical therapist or are in PT school now, documentation is like, oh my gosh, I'm super sweating now because of the anxiety that it brings, right? Now, documentation is for sure, like, I'm just gonna be blunt about it, frank about it. It sucks. There's so much we have to document as physical therapists. And to see patients maybe 1 per hour or 2 per hour or 3 per hour, and to document all that, it's like so hard to keep up with it. But it's a part of the profession. And so when it comes to documentation, what I learned is that you want to document when it's work time as much as you can. Try your best to not document when you're not supposed to work. That also goes with burnout, right? That also goes with the longevity of how long you can last as a physical therapist. 20 years, 30 years, 40 years. You don't want to burn out after 10 and be like, oh, I can't do this anymore because there's just so much documentation. If you can document as much as you can at work time, life will be so much better. And that's what I learned. I go in 30 minutes before, work through lunch to get in all my documentation and all of my computer work done. But I am so glad because I figured out a system for myself, what works. So now I get more efficient in documentation. And now that after I'm done with work, I'm done with freaking work. I don't have to think about it. I don't have to worry about it. I left everything at work and that's it. And now I can create that boundary between work and home, right? When you start to muddle it, oh, dude, I'm starting to tut over here. When you start to muddle those things, you know, life gets really hard and it just seems like you're working all the time. You're working at work, you're working at home, you're working on vacation, all those things, you're catching up, constantly trying to document. I've been there. I remember my first day as a physical therapist, I was so overwhelmed because of the documentation. I worked a shift, I stayed 2 hours later at work to work on documentation and came home to work on documentation. But as the year went on, I started to learn what words mattered, what I actually needed to document and didn't really need to waste my time writing. And I got really efficient at documenting during the times in between patients, during the sessions, while patients are doing their exercises, working through lunch, you know? And that's the sacrifice I make. Some people, they like to eat lunch and not worry about work at lunch, and that's totally fine. But honestly, they take work home. I would much rather, if I'm at work, I would much rather work through lunch and not take documentation home than not work at lunch and take documentation home. But that's just me. And what I learned this past year is that when I got to that point where I can document and leave it at work, my life, my quality of life has gotten so much better. Way less anxiety, way less symptoms of burnout. I felt more excited about life, right? I live in freaking Hawaii. There's so many hikes, beaches, adventures to go to. But if I'm stuck at home documenting or thinking about, oh, I gotta document that thing, I'm not enjoying the present moment of catching the wave and surfing the wave, right? Hang 10, baby. And I'm not enjoying that moment. I'm not enjoying the beautiful views of Hawaii while I'm hiking because my mind is still connected or still tied back to, oh man, I still gotta document. When I have something hanging over me like that, I can't function. But that's just me. I don't know about you, but for me, this past year, when I learned to make that boundary and really learn to document at work and keep it at work, that was a game changer. Okay? So that's number 2. Number 3. When you start working as a physical therapist for your first year, imagine this. You worked so many years to get to this point, right? Undergrad, grinding through observation hours, working as an aide or a volunteer, going through those prerequisites, finally getting accepted, and then grinding through 3 years of treacherous hard work to finally say, hey, I'm a freaking physical therapist. I am so confident I can treat anybody. You got neck pain? I got you. You got shoulder pain? I got you. You got headaches or TMJ or jaw pain? I freaking got you, man. I went to PT school, baby. Honestly, that's what I thought. I was very confident that I was like, hey, I can treat anybody here, right? But what I learned in this past year is that it's okay to ask for help. And this was something that I had to really struggle with my first year as a PT. Since I was so prepared, APU prepared me very well for PT school. I was like, hey man, I can treat anybody. And on the first day I have that plan and I'm going through it. And you know, a couple weeks later, it's like, dude, this patient is still at the same place. What am I even doing? And I really had to struggle through, like, nah, I got this. Don't worry. I'm gonna treat something else or treat that or treat this. And Still no results. And literally, all it took was to say to my coworker, hey man, there's this patient here that I've just been working on for a couple weeks. The patient has some shoulder pain and I've been doing this, and just nothing has been working. And my coworker would just be like, well, have you checked this or have you checked that? And I was like, no, actually I haven't. And really honestly, sometimes it just takes a fresh pair of eyes or a fresh mind or a different perspective or approach to really solve the problem. My point of view is only this way, it's linear this way, but my coworker's point of view is the opposite way. And because he was able to see it from a different perspective, it really helped me think about, I didn't treat that, or I haven't checked that, or I haven't really thought about that angle. And when I learned the value of just another clinician's opinion, it really changed everything, right? Because I don't know it all. And it was at that moment when I realized, like, man, I'm just a cocky son of a, like, I need to humble myself. I need to, I'm confident that I can treat people, but it's okay to ask for help. And I think this is so true. And I see this modeled in my clinic. Clinicians that have been working for years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, they're asking each other, there's this patient that I just can't really seem to figure out. And then they start talking with each other, trying to discuss the signs, symptoms, the different objective measures, special tests, different hypotheses that you might be thinking, and then really getting the fresh pair of just a different mindset or a different approach. I mean, I'm sure you guys have done this too. When you guys are studying, you guys are discussing things and you're like, oh, I didn't realize that. And once you get that aha moment, everything changes. So really understanding the value of that different approach and just asking for help is totally fine. And those three things that I mentioned here today during my first year of PT school, or not PT school, but first year working as a physical therapist, I really wish someone had told me this during my first year working. I really wish someone told me that connection was super important. I wish someone told me that documenting, work through lunch, come in early, but just document at work and that's it. And I wish someone told me, dude, just ask for help and it's okay. Ask your coworker, ask your supervisor, it's okay. These things that I've learned have made my life so much better, my quality of life. And this is important because I'm working 40 freaking hours a week as a clinician, as a physical therapist. That's a long time. And to do this over the years, you have to be able to sustain this. I'll never forget my first day, my boss told me, hey man, welcome to physical therapy. You are working as a physical therapist. Congratulations. I'm going to tell you one thing. This profession is not a sprint. It's a marathon. And I was like, okay, whatever, dude. But now I get it, These are the things that you have to really put into place to have that longevity as a clinician. So, guys, this is my first year. This is my first year working as a physical therapist, and yeah, this video is pretty long, but I just had to share this with you because these three things that I've learned has been a game changer for my life. And those of you who are about to work as a physical therapist or are thinking about as a physical therapist, I really hope you can remember these three lessons that I learned so that you don't have to have so many nights where you're just pulling your hair out because you're so tired and so stressed and you're like, I can't figure this patient out, or I'm just so burnt out, right? Or I have so much documentation. You can easily avoid those mistakes by just applying some of the things that I've talked about today. So, guys, I just want to say Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Thank you for being with me throughout this whole entire journey. Even some of you, even from PT school, right, through my vlogs. Hey, if you're the original OG Live for Change supporter, put in the comments. I want to know, hey man, I've been watching you since your vlogs. I love it when I have supporters talk to me and comment that they've been here watching me for years. That's so, honestly, that's so amazing that I have people on the internet or across the world just watching me. That's like, you know? But guys, first year working as a physical therapist, this is such a unique opportunity, but I'm just so blessed. So blessed. Thank you, Father, for providing such an opportunity to continuously work even amidst COVID-19 and this pandemic. Guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I really appreciate all of you. Thank you for being supportive of Live for Change in this channel. I appreciate you so much. Stay lifting, stay aloha. Have a great one, you guys.